remember, when was the first time you heard the name Gary Vee?
I liked garage sailing, and I had like Goodwills near me and thrift stores.
So it boils down to, you not understanding totally what VeeFriends is. Obviously, you've done your homework since.
Decided to spend more money than I thought I was going to on that first night. Stole that box from Gary, and to be honest, and I'm sorry for most people, I don't like Crocs.
VeeFam, what's up? Mr. Messer, you can call me Rob. I am back with another amazing episode of the VeeFam sessions, and it is my privilege to introduce the legend of Saugy Waffles, JJ Saugstad. Saugy, how are you?
I'm good. I'm glad we could connect. When you asked me to be on here, I was like, "Are you sure you want to talk to me?" But no, it's an honor and a privilege of what you've done so far with the VeeFam sessions. It's helped educated me on the story of VeeFriends and Web3.
Amazing. Well, I mean, you and we'll get into all of it, but you have jumped in a big way. But I do appreciate you saying that, and I see you following and supporting. But I've wanted to get into this habit of leading with gratitude on these, and I do have to just commend you just for being just amazing ambassador, just a cheerleader for everyone. Like you were just in it, retweeting and just really going the extra miles to support the people doing streams, and whether it's Fanatics or people in the community, the Joshes and the Toms and the J Robs of the world, and you're just always there. You put yourself in the middle of it. So, and I just that's like when I think about the VeeFam, like that's one of the things that just jumps out at me. People that truly support each other when there's nothing in it necessarily for them except to just be a kind person. I want to lead us off by sharing that with you. So yeah, thank you on behalf of the whole community.
No, thank you. It's I came on a stream with Fanatics, got a little crazy, and then Josh with his show, and then Tom, Jay, and obviously Chelsea joining in, and then even Ron's with his roundtable, and then yours. I wouldn't be who I am without streaming and you guys, so I wouldn't be doing the right thing by not giving the shout outs. Otherwise I open that box at home by myself and no one knows who I am, and the new community members don't get a taste of what this community is really all about.
I love it. That makes a ton of sense, and we love having you around. But obviously there's a lot to cover, some monumental moments. But let's take a step back. Can you give us the quick clip notes? I say 55-second clip notes on who Saugy is pre Gary Vee and VeeFriends.
Yeah, so unlike everybody else, that's like my entire life was pretty much pre Gary Vee. I'm big sports guy, born and raised in Wisconsin. Played a little bit of every sport growing up. My dad was always my coach. Ended up going to UW-Madison for a couple of years. Didn't quite work out when I was there with some mental health struggles that I had. Took some adulting, and my 20s were filled with volleyball, which was a big part of my life, playing and coaching. So I started coaching at 18, and I've done that for the last 12 years. Loved it, passionate about it, and just worked at a sporting goods store because they let me do whatever I wanted hours-wise. Came into what I do now. I sell basketball hoops for a living. So we just put up a hoop Christmas Eve for a family as a present from Santa. So it was really cool to be a part of that moment. But it's been sports nonstop my entire life. And then VeeFriends, I found Gary right when COVID hit. So that's kind of when I started following him, kind of got the beginning. And then VeeFriends, obviously, in October of this year. So there's a little bit of a gap there.
Did I see this right, that you're a Lions fan?
No, so that was another. I'm Packers, so everything Wisconsin is me. Yeah, so again, similar to the Fanatics and me buying that whole box, it was a 1 a.m. decision. I jumped on another Fanatics stream for VIP, so VIP or VIP rips. Bought into a spot, got the Lions. I asked to trade it because I didn't want it, and then got 2 hits. So I'm trying to sell those for anyone that likes the Lions. 2 rookie cards that can be yours for a good price, but definitely not a Lions fan.
Oh, I figured that you wouldn't be. Excuse me. I just figured, anything else in that division, if you're from Wisconsin, other than the Packers, I feel like they could kick you out of town.
Yeah, we're We're loyalists for sure, and I've been
I
spoiled with quarterback play. The Jets have taken taken our last two, but I was honestly ready to move on from it for the next thing. But 30 years of Hall of Fame quarterbacks, I can handle a new face for sure.
I think I was probably 11 or 12 years old, and I was always a Favre guy. And that was kind of like, for me, that like pushed me over into Jets fandom when he jumped. But I put my name on the um, season ticket list. I just thought it was cool that it was like lifetime. So I still get that every year. It's kind of
Yeah,
a fun aside.
that's something that I'll never see here with Green Bay season tickets. You go a lifetime before your name gets called.
Oh,
So
totally.
haven't been to Lambeau yet, but that's a bucket list thing for me.
Nice. Cool. So you mentioned COVID. When was the first piece of content that video, podcast, whatever, when was the first time you heard the name Gary Vee?
Yeah, so that was well, I lost my job due to an audit, and the easiest way to pay for Uncle Sam is get rid of the new guy. So there went my salary, which I understood now. I didn't get it back then, but then I turned into like, how can I pay my bills without having a steady stream of income? And thankfully, they had the unemployment benefits going on at the time, so I was doing fine there. But I wanted more. I was trying to pay off my debt. I bought a car, so I don't know exactly where it came about. I liked garage sailing, and I had like Goodwills near me and thrift stores. I might have Googled it, stumbled upon Gary, and I just started flipping. So during COVID, I came in with debt, and I left COVID without any. So it was a clean slate without a full-time job and got my job back. So I have the Mug Life hoodie, the Hustle Like Gary V. I have all those things, and I just kind of grinded for a while, and it was fun. It's addicting for sure.
I'm living that as well. I love that. Another trash talk success story. Did you have like a specialty, or were you just anything and everything? Do you have a niche?
It started with sports because that was my life. My dad was big in the junk box era, so he had a ton of cards, and it made sense for me. That was right when like the Chicago Bulls documentary was coming out too. So I
Oh,
picked up
yeah.
like a Scottie Pippen rookie card, and then 3 weeks later bought it for 45, flipped it for 300. So I really tried to see what was hot in the now and attack it because I needed money sooner rather than later. But I just got back into flipping. I actually sold a pair of Yeezys slides on Christmas, and I sold another one on my way home from work today. So I'm getting back into that landscape. It's once you sell one thing and you get that email, it's just like, yep, I need to go to Goodwill again. I actually spent Christmas the 23rd at Goodwill for a couple of hours looking for more
I
things
I
to
went this
sell.
morning.
Yeah,
It's a rush. Like I love Gary says this all the time. Just the thrill of the hunt. I love going.
yeah. I picked up a Jordan T-shirt, brand new with tags for like $5 during COVID, and I listed it. It was some special. I don't know anything about Jordan, but it was some collab that was a big deal, and sold it in less than a week for $400. It was like, I mean,
Let's go.
it it makes it, yeah, like you said, it's the hunt, it's fun, and when you strike it rich, you're like, yeah, I got to go back. Um, but it's a good time. Just don't have as much time anymore with working full time again.
Understood. Do you have Goodwill bins near you?
Not that I know of. I haven't looked. There's where I'm at, just outside of Milwaukee. I have like St. Vincent de Paul, which is more like the thrift side of a Goodwill. I don't
Mm,
know if those are across in your neck of the woods, but like that's where there's one out in Oconomowoc. It's more of a high end suburb of Milwaukee, so you get all the older rich people essentially
mm.
throw all their old stuff there. So I bought a desk for $50 and sold that for 500. Just more name brand type things with high quality. But I've seen videos with the bins, but I've never done it yet. I kind of want that thrill of digging through and being, I got it before you.
The bins. I mean, the bin. If you're just getting into this game, the bins probably isn't for you. If you're just entering the 101 thrift life, but
Yeah,
like if you truly love it and you like love the hunt and you like don't mind being in the dirt, like almost literally sometimes, it is so fun. If you're listening or interested, you can Google. I think they're officially called like clearance centers, outlets, but it's essentially this big warehouse with all the bins that of stuff. There's shoes, clothes, but it is you pay by the pound. So like just earlier, I got like it was 35 items for $21, so it's like 62 cents each, and like I've had really killer like vintage Bills sweaters that I sold for like $80, like just nice name brand stuff. Oh man, I
Have
could talk
you
about this for
yeah,
hours.
have you looked at like the pallet returns from like Amazon and Lowe's and all of
I
that?
I haven't been to one, but I've seen videos. I've seen videos,
If I
and
had the
some people.
space, I think I would, but I live in a side by side right now, so my second bedroom is like my shipping my shipping
Yeah.
center with all my extra cards and things that I'm selling out. But that's what's intriguing is finding the new things and pushing it out pretty quickly.
I foresee myself getting into it, like actually participating, sometime in the near future, but I haven't yet. Pivoting from Flip Life, which is obviously under the Gary umbrella, you probably picked up some things from him in that content. Where did you on that journey did you pick up VeeFriends?
I stopped Flip Life once I got my job back because I didn't want to lose it again, right? I wanted to make it where when I went back to the company, they couldn't afford to let me go. So I kind of stopped all of that. And it was super random. I don't know what it was, if it was a Fanatics ad or something with Gary. And I was looking at flipping again because I have about 2 grand of Yeezys that I need to get rid of. So I might have looked them up again. And it was just kind of a random, it was October 5th. And I was like, I'm going to watch the stream. I have no clue what this is about. Clicked on, decided to spend more money than I thought I was going to on that first night, stole that box from Gary. And after that, I was like, yep, I'm in. So there was no rhyme or reason. It was just like a gut feeling I needed to watch that night.
So we're talking about the Fanatic stream here, and I didn't realize that was your first stream when you stole
Yeah,
the box.
yeah, I
Give us the quick TLDR of that moment, because that was a good one, and an amazing start to this saga that we call the Legend of Saugy Waffles.
yeah. So that was I was in the chat and I didn't realize until I was on Tom and Jay's stream with how fast chat scrolls through and how hard it is to read. So they were like, if you're new, that was when if you're new, you ask this and ask questions and OGs help them out. And I was like, God, what is this? Like, what's this box? Is this a good price? And I had the same box that Gary had up on my phone. And I was like, I don't know if this, should I buy this or not? And once he pulled up the Rips's phone and was like, I'm going to buy this, I was like, no, dude, this is mine, and snuck in there right before. So like that was my reassurance that I wasn't off base. But if if he didn't bring up the phone or show it, I had no clue what I was doing. But it ended up to be a pretty good decision in the moment, obviously. And then my name popping up, and I mean this that moment that Tom always says, you know, you made it with Gary when he calls you an asshole, and I'm like, that's when
Yeah,
it started, right off the bat, first stream, and he's calling me an asshole. So I was like, there it is. I'm gonna keep it going.
that's the first time you're tapping in, so you don't know the characters. You're not
No,
like you
I
don't have a
was
pulse on anything.
clueless. I knew what the box looked like, and I knew Gary wanted it first, and I beat him, and that was pretty much it at that moment.
That's fascinating. You're just putting yourself in the right place at the right time and have that moment. Um, and sticking with Fanatics, so you end up becoming a regular. That's not the first time, or excuse me, that wasn't the last time you said this is mine. Um,
Yeah.
you Gary was for those of you that may not be understand what we're talking about. So VeeFriends, specifically VeeFriends cards, they run live streams on Fanatics Live, the app, and they do a lot of giveaways, and they sell packs and boxes of VeeFriends compete and collect cards, and some series one they've done, and some other memorabilia. So on one particular stream, the Gibbets, the Crocs Gibbets collab just broke, and Gary signed one, first Crocs Gibbets, or I'll let you elaborate, but they ran an auction, and I'll let you take it from there. What happened?
Yeah, so there's 2 auctions that night that I ended up winning. But with the Gibbets one, to be honest, and I'm sorry for most people, I don't like Crocs. My buddies all have them, and I give them a hard time, and they're not for me. But yeah, he signed the Gibbets, and it was first signed Gary V on there. Put it up for auction, and then I got it. I thought it was going to go a lot higher. I just kind of threw my name out there. It sold. I think I got it for 650 or 600. And Gary looked at Rips and Connor and was just like, what was it sold for? That's it? all right, here's $150 profit for you. And I was like, I wasn't really paying attention at that point because I was like, shit, I just spent $600 on something that I don't really like. But as a collectible, I knew like I believed in Gary because I found him again, that it would be worth something. And then I told him no. I wrote it's mine in all capital letters with kind of a little bit of authority. And he was taken back and just started throwing those slabs down. And there's one and two and three. And then when the Willful Wizard popped up, that's when Rips and Connor just went crazy seeing that card come through. And yeah, 11 total slabs, all because I wouldn't sell it to him, which that was unreal. And then I got the first sign box that Rips drew the Black Cat, and him and Connor and Gary all signed. So I picked up both of those that night, and they're actually on my top shelf. Uh, they'll be there for a long time.
Amazing. So it was 11 slaps in
Yeah,
total. For your conviction, I think was the word that he used
yeah,
when you turned down the quick $150 um, profit. That's This is really, really interesting. So it's like, so it boils down to, you not understanding totally what VeeFriends is. Obviously, you've done your homework since, but in these early days, it's just conviction and Gary. You
yeah.
just
It's
you've tasted that stew, um, and got success from your flip life days. So you're just blindly all in.
Yeah, it was. I followed him. It was like 3 years prior, and he was doing bigger things. And looking back again, I stopped following him right before like the NFTs came out and book games. So like when that first was released, like I was like, why the hell do I need all these books? Like I don't get it. I don't understand crypto and NFTs. So like I left before that big splash started. But it was just this guy's gonna do something with this. 3 years ago I started, and he made a freaking card like and NFTs off of this. So why give this back to him if he wants it? There's going to be value to be had there. So I said it was mine.
So you are in. You're putting your money into this belief into Gary's track record. In comes, so that's late October into November 2023. November 10th is this box break, and you end up buying the whole Series 1 box when there were spots being sold for, I think it was 575, 595. You bought out
Yeah.
all 10 slots. Is this continued just conviction, or is this like now you're doing more homework, you understand the ecosystem a little bit more, and you know that this is a product and that's really the grail, the tippy top of within this
Uh,
ecosystem of collectibles?
I think a little bit of everything, also sprinkled in with a lot of just being naive. I didn't know. I think if you watch that clip again, like my reaction, I say right before the Black Cat came out was, should I grab a drink or something? Like you knew, I heard you on your camera. Everyone else is flipping out, and I'm sitting there like chill as a cucumber, just like, yeah, what's about to happen? But the crazy thing about that was I was going to buy the duplex that I live in, but after the inspection, the water heaters were 40 years old. My furnace was another 25, same with the other side. So I pulled out of the deal that me and my landlord came up with. So I had my home deposit that I was just in my savings account. And that was another a 1 a.m. decision. I was talking to Jay, and I was like, dude, let's just do it. I didn't understand the point of buying one card. Like, just jump in, make it happen, make a splash. And I mean, you saw what came of it, but I did more research, but I didn't know about Series 1 as much as I was focused on CNC at that time. So I was a little more naive and a whole hell of a lot of luck, but
so
it worked
so you're
out.
just a guy that goes all in, um
Yeah,
like
it
if like you're going all the way.
if you're gonna take a chance, like, and this was me betting on myself because at that point, like, I met some of the community members, like, virtually, and great connections with them, and it builds that confidence, which I love about the people here. You just feel welcomed immediately, and they don't know who you are, right? I've only got to meet Tom, Chelsea, and Jay because of that Black Cat. Otherwise, I'd have to wait and hope for VCon was like my next goal.
Mm.
But it was just you jump in, and I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it.
That makes a ton of sense, and I love how you're so out, you're forthright with the naivete, because that's A, that's okay, and B, that it's just another special layer on these amazing series of events. I know you've been listening. I'm a big fan of timelines
Yeah.
within these conversations. So a lot happened in a very short amount of time here. Um, so we have to build it up. Well, for those of you that are listening, I'll tell you how the story ends. The story ends with Saugy here being at the center of one of the biggest moments of VeeFriends history to date, probably the biggest VeeFriends cards moment. VeeFriends cards, the official account, just a few weeks ago listed this as the number one pull of 2023. He pulled the very, 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 very lucky black cat, the only one of one that has been seen by the public yet. The bubblegum version in this box break on November 10th, streamed on Twitch to the Moon Cards, pulled right in this seat that
Yeah.
that I'm
But
sitting in right now. This is
by
the
your
scene of the
wife,
crime
Chelsea did it.
by Chelsea Messer, who happens to be my wife. So it was a a moment that went through this community like no other moment that can remember since May of 2021. I don't even know where to start here because there's so much to unpack. But let's go to the moment. And I've probably seen this clip of this card being pulled more than any other clip of anything in my life.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know if it was there and I filmed one of them or just the moment. But it so many times when you mentioned in the actual feed, Tom's going nuts, or about to go nuts. We see those little ears when Chelsea's pulling it, and it could be a Harpic. It A lot of people in the chat were saying Harpic. A lot of people, uh, my, and I was in the Black Hat camp. And there's maybe one or two other characters that it could have been. You obviously had no idea,
No, I
but
was clueless.
when like what's going through your head when everyone just goes ape shit?
So that's when like I didn't really realize what was happening until like way past it actually happened, right? Because I knew the black cat was a big deal. Obviously, it's the cat's everywhere. So like even if you don't know VeeFriends, you know that there's some importance there. And I mean, you heard me before. I was like, yeah, I think, do I need to get a drink before this? And I had no words, and like I was tearing up, but like it wasn't emotional. I, my body was just drained. And I don't know. Same thing. I was dumbfounded. There was no words. I think the funny part after looking back and rewatching was my dog was going crazy. Pepper's bell trained, so when she needs to go outside, she hits the bell, and she did that throughout the entire break. So I waited for it to be over and just walked outside casually, like, "Hey guys, I'll be back later." And Chelsea was like, "Who are you? Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?" And I was like, "My dog's got to go to the bathroom. That's all." And that's when I was like, "Holy shit! Like something just happened." I didn't understand the magnitude, but I knew what just took place was something that was not going to be forgotten for a long time.
The day after, on November 11th, you tweeted, "It's been 24 hours since this magical moment still hasn't fully sunk in. This community is exactly what I needed in my life." There's so many subplots to this break. One of them, one of the reasons I think that it's an amazing card. It's symbolic, but the moment, take the card out of it. The moment, I think is also super special because it was a stream that was built up, and if you're in the cards community, you kind of, you know, to the moon was started by Jay and Tom. They are doing these streams. They bring in Chelsea. There's this moment a few days later on the 8th, or a few days earlier on the 8th, Fanatics live rips and Connor, while Gary was talking about how they were doing a series one box break, and Gary had, it's the infamous, like, infamous in our world, the "you fucked up" stream, like
Yeah,
Tom and Jay and Chelsea like fucked up. So Chelsea put out this video that really amped up this box break. It's sold out, obviously, because you bought all the boxes. So there's a lot of hype to this. Gary tweets it out a whole bunch of times. Ultimately, the entire, like, it felt like the entire VeeFriends community was in there. Specifically the team.
Oh,
And
for
I
sure.
didn't really get a pulse on this live, but after watching the replay through the chat, Gary's in there going nuts. Obviously, Rips is in there. Andy, the president, Tyler Dowdle, the marketing manager, Daniel Donaire, the head of community. Like, all of these big players are there, with the community, and everyone is just going nuts and celebrating. Um, so that is probably something, obviously, with so much going on, you didn't realize, uh, but now, like, looking back at it, like, it is one of the only moments that I can remember where, like, so many people, all eyes are on this moment, and we got to share it as a community.
Yeah, it was.
Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, it was surreal. I actually looked at it a couple weeks ago. I rewatched the entire break because when I was on To the Moon, I was like, damn, like I can't keep up with chat. Like, how do these guys do it? Because it's just scrolling through, and then you have a big hit like that, like it's just going even faster. So like you lose all track of what anybody's saying. So I went back and I reread it, and I was like, well, there's Gary. I knew he was there, and there's Rips, and there's Connor, and then there's Andy Corso, like all these guys that I've seen post about, but I'm like, who am I to any of these guys? It's just I'm some random guy that stole a box from Gary, and but they're like they were all here because of. I mean, I'm not big in myself, but for something that I just did, and it was super surreal. And the conversations that I've got to have with each of those guys afterwards, and Jeremy as well, it I don't know, it's still surreal to the point. I don't know if that'll ever stop. I mean, maybe eventually when I meet them all in person, like it'll kind of come full circle. But no, I still go back and watch it, and you pick out different things and community members that reached out to me for the first time because of it, and friendships that are being made because of it.
I love that. So Chelsea tweeted with that video, the one where you see the vantage point, where you see the chat in real time. Uh, she tweeted, "If you didn't see last night, here's the moment with the chat, because honestly, this wouldn't be anything without all the VeeFriends community. We all won last night, and you can feel that. Congrats, VeeFam." And I thought she hit the nail right on the head with that, because it
100,
was it was just a
100%.
moment, like, obviously not to take anything away from you, but it, like,
No,
anybody
it
with
was
that.
bigger than all of us at that time, and that's what I loved about this community. Like I have sports cards, I have a Giannis rookie card, I have a couple others, but like that community isn't like this in my opinion.
Mm,
You yes, I had like the card. You can see it above me, like it's sitting there, like it's mine, and it's at home with me. But like what that did to put V Friends on the map, and like the people that started following, and the growth that you saw, and all these new people were like, hey, I can be that guy next time, or like it could be me, and like you jump in, and like the community had a huge dub after that night. And
mm,
again, that's why I try to be very pay it forward to all the people streaming, because again, you invest a lot of money in getting inventory and then time to connect with the community members. That's why they do what they do, and it's all about the community. That's why that's a success. That's why I spent the money I did, because it's not just Gary V, it's the people backing him, his team, and yourself, and everyone else that has a V card or a V friend card, or even just watches one stream.
you mentioned the community reaching out to you. It was probably overwhelming, I would think.
Yeah,
Right away, I
very
know
much.
there was, what would you, are you grading it? Where are you getting it graded? Are you selling it? Gary, I know Gary wanted to buy it. Like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I can only assume that it was a little overwhelming, especially since you're just kind of like, you don't even know what just happened. Uh,
Yeah, for sure.
you
And
bought this on a whim.
yeah, overwhelming. I don't think it does it justice with with how I felt with it. I stayed on the stream, and Tom and I drank a lot more to kind of recover from what took place. And all of a sudden, like I joined the Discord. Like so, Discord was all of a sudden there's 50 people in there. Like, hey, congratulations, this is awesome. And I'm like, who are you? Like, how do you
Mm,
know who I am? And then Gary shot me a message, and Rips, and like you see, and I went back and listened to Gary's podcast, and he's like, I like following people because like that's a huge moment for my community members is seeing my name pop up. To him, it's nothing; it's just a button. But to the average Joe who's trying to get into it and may need a win, like Gary V slid in my DMs and said, "Congrats, man! Like this is awesome." And then rips 5 minutes later saying, "Hey, Gary wants to buy it, so let's talk." Right afterwards, and that I didn't understand the whole value financially until a couple days later of what that could mean. But even still, it's an overwhelming moment because I still have people who are like, "Hey, I know you." I'm like, "How? Like, what do you mean you know me? You've heard my name. I'm used to like all bad things, right?" No, it's amazing. The streams and the people, your card, like it still get random people that pop in.
Mm. I mean, from the, this is your third, obviously your biggest one, but,
Yeah,
with the couple Fanatics instances, there's a lot of, loyal, dedicated VeeFriends cards people that's, by this time they're like, oh, this guy again. So you,
yeah.
like I said, you came out of nowhere and you just became a force at the center of it all. Um, it, as far as people coming out, were you getting a lot of offers? Um,
No,
Were
I
people throwing numbers at you, or
there
was
was Rip said we'll talk, and I knew they would leave it at. I mean, Gary's a businessman, right? He knows the game. He's never going to come up and say, "I'll pay you this right now," and then call it a day. Well, he did that for my gibbets, but that was slightly different scale than this card. I had one offer like a week or two afterwards, and I didn't know if it was serious or not, or if it was just like, "Hey, this is where I think it starts." Got another one a week or two ago, but so nothing too crazy. I mean, you knew how long it took before I actually had the card in my possession, so I wasn't going to sell it before like I had it. But I haven't really put it out there that hey, if you want to buy it. But I mean, let's be real. Everyone can be bought at a price. I just
sure?
don't know if anyone's going to say it first. And I'm in no rush. The rest of the box, as Chell said, the Kind Warrior is overlooked. So if I'm going to sell a big card first, it's probably going to be that one.
Yeah, and let's talk about that for a second. Let's take a beat. It is the everyone call a lot of people in the chat were saying best box ever. Uh, I think potentially rips. I don't want to. I'll stick to potentially there.
Yeah,
Um,
both him and Gary both did. I went through and I screenshotted
okay,
a lot of their comments
that's what I
when
thought.
I watched.
Uh, I mean, you had an alert ape, you had a Jacko, you had a Auto Kind Warrior, which is a huge character that just got dwarfed by this
Yeah, no,
pull.
it was nothing.
And another through line of this, it's an 11 card box. It's an 11 card box, and you had called it
Yeah,
on Twitter earlier, I think earlier that day, or perhaps the day before.
yeah.
I think
Chelsea tweeted out she put like the flame emojis and then the cat, and she only put 10, and I was like, no, you're wrong, and I threw another flame in there for another hit. And I mean, that's just people being dumb on Twitter, like posting stuff out there. But I was like, holy, called
it.
it. I look like a genius, right?
I mean,
Made it
so
happen.
far, without knowing anything about VFriends, you're putting
Yeah,
yourself in positions
yeah,
that are very very advantageous to you.
yeah. My batting average growing up with baseball wasn't my strong suit, but I'm hitting pretty well right now with V friends, so
Yeah,
I'm
you're
gonna
you're
stick
getting
to
that big
this.
contract
Yeah.
offer coming. It's coming any day now. Amazing. So, I mean, on to that point, the next day on the 12th, Gary is doing what Gary does. He's giving away stuff in the Twitterverse or on X, I should say, and you win your very first
Oh yeah,
VFriend NFT, a quick
yeah,
whale.
yeah. That was again. I'm openly and I admit it to anyone that brings it up. NFT ignorant is I think underselling. I don't know enough about it, and I want to learn before I dive in. So anything with Gary, right? He's been doing that a lot lately during the holidays. Is hey, come in this, and then I mean, Corso's been working like a dog, sending cards to all these people. So I made a MetaMask real quick wallet. I was like, hey, I'm just going to take a chance, and I went through and I minted a few with GT. With the Hype Foundation, so like I didn't even know what I was doing. I just love what he stands for. And then I was like, here you go, Gary, here's mine. And then 5 minutes later, the quail shows up. And I'm like, what is this? But it's forced me to learn more and take a deeper interest in NFTs and the Web3 space. So it's been a blessing in that regard because now I have a reason to dive in further than what I already did. My bank account may not like it eventually,
Mm.
but it was pretty cool to have that happen right afterwards.
Amazing. What a series of events. And I think you tweeted here on the 12th, on 11/12/23. I appreciate you, Gary V. The community that you have built has gotten me through some tough times during COVID, and this last month of VeeFriends is exactly what I needed in my life. You are a legend, my friend, and I look forward to meeting you in the future, Gary fucking V. So, I mean, during these few days, obviously there's a lot of good juju, but this pull just rippled a lot of great energy through not only our community, but even leaked out into the the mainstream card community. Eric Whiteback, the collectibles guru, retweeted it, tweeted it out with a comp, um, and you guys, you ended up going and getting it graded at CGC. Uh, free grading. They accepted you guys out. Talk a little bit about that experience, because that's not every day where
No,
a grading company rolls out the red carpet and says, "Hey, come here to our place. We'll show you around and give you free grading." How did
yeah,
that
so
come about?
that was another one that right after it was pulled, everyone was like, "Hey, dude, what are you doing for grading?" And I was like, I don't know. I don't even know what this card really means. I don't know where I'm going to send it. And with sports cards, like PSA is king, and most people know that, and it's well known. And like a PSA 10 of anything, there's collectors that just want that, even if they have no clue what's inside of it.
Mm,
So I went back and forth, and I mean, I have to give all the credit for making it happen to Tom. Immediately when they were closed over the weekend, he went after, he emailed him. He's like, "Do you realize what happened? The biggest card in history just got pulled." Like, basically saying you guys are going to be dumb if you don't fly us down there. Not phrased like that, but like put in a manner where like this was going to be a big deal for VeeFriends and CGC by doing so. And like looking back at, I mean, it makes complete sense. Obviously, like the Gary originally owned cards are huge when they're giving it away. Like getting CGC, they do amazing stuff with TCG already, but like VeeFriends, this was gonna like it was a no-brainer in my opinion from a business sense, like professionally. Like, yeah, let's get this card in our slab and show the world that the best card is CGC. And so getting flown down there and like experiencing it in person was they could have just graded it for free and I would have been ecstatic, but they went the extra mile for sure, gave us a goodie bag. That day was amazing. There's things that I'm sure you've tried to ask Chelsea some questions and things she may have said I can't talk about it or tell you, but they're behind the scenes, their vault, like what I loved was the people grading, like, and I don't mean this in like a negative way. They're truly nerds of like their craft. Like they nerd out with Pokemon or Magic cards or their sports cards. Like there's such a passion behind it. So you know that you're not getting screwed over on grading. There's always jokes. Well, if you have a bad day, the grader has a bad day, you're getting it's going down to a 7. And it's like, no, these people take it seriously.
mm.
Um,
No, that's extremely reassuring, and to hear that people have their specialty, not only
yeah.
passions, but just being familiar with the cards, um, and or series or years or whatever. Um, because obviously there's a lot that goes into this, as you saw firsthand up close. But it's a big business. I mean, there's a lot of money at stake here,
Oh, for sure.
and those decisions can cost up to where's the thousands or tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, the difference between a 10 and a 9.5 or a pristine and a 10, it's like to the person that doesn't understand, it's just a color of a label, but from a value perspective, to your point, it can be thousands, it could be tens of thousands to get a pristine on a specific card. So that they take it really seriously. And I think Jay mentioned it afterwards when we were there. Like they were working together. So like some guy would be grading a card and he had a question, he'd go to somebody else and say, "Hey, what's your opinion on this? Like, what do you think here? And this is where I'm at." Like the fact that they're doing that is cool. Like
Mm,
they're taking it seriously because they know that they're collectors too, right? And they don't want to flood the market with a whole bunch of 10s because then the value of their stuff doesn't equate to it. But it was a cool experience. There's some stuff with CGC coming out in the future that I think it's going to be huge with VeeFriends, but also just the TCG community as well.
Amazing. So, I mean, that had to be so cool, regardless of the grade. Just being there live. You were doing content, you were in the room. Like, what
I
was the reveal like?
I mean, we'll go back to overwhelming. I'm not a big spotlight guy. So like when you asked me to do this, I'm like, dude, you're not serious. Like you don't. I've listened to everything else, and all these people are big in the community and like their landscapes with Web3 and VeeFriends. I'm like, dude, he's not for real. And then my first taste of being behind the camera or in front of it was there. And man, there's pressure. Like my head was sweaty and oily. They gave me special rags to get the glare off, and they're like, "All right,
That's awesome.
we can always restart." And I was like, "No, I can't restart it because then like they made me do my reaction to the grade like twice because they wanted a short version and a long." And I was like, "Now I'm an actor on top of this." But so there's like 4 cameras, the lights there. You got Tom and Jen one side of the room, just like being like little kids at a candy store, like super excited for what's about to happen. Chelsea's got her phone out trying to get content for To the Moon. And it was surreal. Being there with the VP, with Matt, he was amazing, and their marketing team. Uh, yeah, I didn't like the spotlight, but I was kind of forced to be there with what I did. And it was fun, but I wanted to make sure that those guys got included as well. And I hope their content comes out sooner rather than later because I made sure they were all on screen with me a little bit and talked about what that meant to the community because I still didn't fully understand at that point how big that was for everyone in VeeFriends. And those 3 were going to be the best ambassadors to really put that out there for CGC and VeeFriends.
What a special moment. And I can't help but think I'm thinking about all of these series of events that you just kind of keep on finding your way into. And this is no, please don't take this the wrong way, has no uh this doesn't say anything about you, but just the plot. I just keep on thinking of Forrest Gump and how this guy just ends up in all these unbelievable situations,
Yeah.
and like it's working out. Um, like you go from let me check out this Fanatics stream to a couple months later you're in Florida, with the VP of CGC, this huge grading company, getting a reveal of the biggest card that we have ever seen in this ecosystem. Just fascinating, fascinating.
Yeah, and
Um,
that was wrapped up with and I mean, not to throw Chelsea under the bus too much, they had a surprise at the end that I didn't think was real, and she accidentally leaked that. Well, there's a chance that Gary may FaceTime you, and I was like, no, no, it's not. He's busy. Like this isn't that big of a deal. So we got to the end of it, and I was like, all right, we're done. We're wrapped up. Those 3 had to catch their flight, and they kept keeping us there and like making up excuses, and I was again, I think I was so wrapped up in the moment that Chelsea probably captured on camera where I just sat in silence and looked at the card for like 5 minutes. And all of a sudden they're like, all right, one more take. There's a phone call that you have to take, Matt. And it was Gary, like just there, FaceTiming right there. And I was like, well, I want to hear what I said in those like 2 minutes or so, because I probably sounded like a blubbering fool. But I was like, it's Gary fucking V. Like you're here. Like what is this? Taking time out of your day. It was right before one of his podcasts with friends episodes was getting put out there, and I was like, it's still not real that took place, but it was just like an icing on the cake of a vacation that I so badly needed to take, and it was amazing. And then you guys saw my taking the black cat everywhere afterwards as I spent
Adventure.
another day.
What a great story from top to bottom. And I know your story obviously is still going, but and I asked this question to Ezra, who does content, because he's a black cat holder. I'm curious to your answer too. What does aside from being the logo and what it literally represents, I'm curious, like, what does that cat mean to you now?
And this goes back to like you mentioned in my tweets, like I so badly needed like this month in this community. I've gone through my issues with mental health, and that's the reason why I left UW Madison. It's a great school. I loved it. I was smart enough, obviously, to get in there. but something mentally just it wasn't right. So I had to go figure that out. And back in 2017, I actually lost my brother to his own battle with mental health. So it comes in waves. Obviously, with any kind of grief, it hits you in the face sometimes, and it's never gone, but it's always there. So this past fall, it's kind of hit you again. So like having this card and meeting these people, like the black hat to me was like you're all right, man. Like things are gonna look up. That you just keep on grinding, be true to yourself, give back to the people around you that care about you, and like everything that should happen is going to. Now again, financially that's gonna be awesome, but like to me that there is no value with what that brought to me. Besides just a lot of mental strength and like, all right, man, there's so much more to life than all the bad that you had in 2023. Fuck that, move forward. And now you have it graded on your shelf behind you. But there's like optimism associated with that. Like good things are coming. Because I'm not really a lucky person. I don't win that much. I've pull tabs. I won big once. Everything else has been a dud. When you put in, never lotto tickets or scratch offs. So like keep grinding, be true to you, and it's going to pay off in the long run. If it's a black cat, if it's your grail card, if it's a new job, like good things are coming. You just got to be patient and yeah, be true to yourself. So that's, I know that's kind of long-winded and maybe not a clear definition, but it's kind of what it is for me.
It makes total sense, and it's especially poetic because it just kind of aligns with Gary's thesis of it. His reasoning that he's put out there for making the black cat the logo, the symbol for VeeFriends, is to flip the script on the societal norms that we associate with a lot of these animals or traits. And when everyone thinks about a black cat as being unlucky and not good. So this is an amazing story that highlights the meaning, his meaning
Yeah.
behind it. And as you peel back your layers of your own personal story, it just even amplifies that. So I think it's amazing. And not to downplay anyone else's story that didn't have this kind of moment that's been highlighted, because, and to your point about the guests that I have on here, I I don't think that there's anyone too big or small to talk to in this community, right? Just like the notion, and you probably heard this if you listen back to earlier episodes, like, there was this whole notion of like, are you really in the VeeFam? Are you really a VeeFriend if you're not a holder? And the answer is, yeah. Like if you are someone that tries to be the bigger person, like you're in the VeeFam. If you try to give more than you take, like you're in the VeeFam. Like it's just subscribing to the traits of these characters and showing up. So like your story is amazing, and yes, you have this cool thing happen to you, but there's everyone has their own story and has the wins and losses, myself included, and we just are privileged to kind of be together in this little pocket, like doing cool things, experiencing cool things.
The tangible cards and collect, obviously you see everything I have behind me. Like that's awesome, but it's been the people that
Mm.
have really made this worthwhile. I had a conversation with another member last night, and he's 24, super young. I'm 30. I'm not that old. I'm 32. But he was going through some same stuff that I was, and normally me and this guy never would have communicated. We never would have crossed paths, and we got pretty deep. And I told him like my past and history, and he was like, I needed to hear this from somebody. And so like moments like that where you can dumb it down, and I don't want to take away from the value of it, but like a piece of cardboard did that, like connected, and someone that needed to have that support and mental health help was because I had this. And that's where I'm trying to really push giving back, especially in 2024, because like my collecting, I can't ask for much more, right? Like I got the Series 1 spec on the Black Hat. My core set's pretty much done. I have a CNC rainbow for my lemur. It's about the people now. It's not about
Mm.
me. I'll still steal some things and probably piss some people off that I outbid them, but like you snooze, you lose. But it's the people now that I really want to focus on and give back to, like the Tom and Jay, Chels, Josh, Rips, who gave me a chance to be somebody, which I didn't realize I needed so badly.
And the more the longer I hang around, the more I realize that there's just so many ways to give. So I love that. I love that outlook as we head into
Yeah,
a new
yeah.
year.
Well, and speaking of, I got your turtle doves came in the mail today, so I got to make sure
Yes,
that I deliver on that end, which I for sure
yes.
will. I'll make that happen. But
Let's
that's
go.
again as your way of giving.
Remind me of which ones what character?
Yeah, that was to be the bigger person.
Oh yes.
Oh,
Let's
that one.
go.
Yep. So you
Amazing.
sent those on Chelsea's mainstream, which was a
Yeah.
hit with you at the helm with her. So yeah, those came in today, and I thought it was poetic that
That
the day that you and I connect is the day those cards came.
that that's awesome. I love that. And a great card to do it with too. Amazing. So characters. Before we head into our last segment here, what character do you feel like you need to spend more time with?
Yeah. So the big one, why I bought one of the shirts, I got the Confident Cobra. Was one of them. Again, I've said it numerous times. My mental health and confident. I don't put myself on a high pedestal in a lot of aspects, and I should. Like, I need to be more confident. I need to put my voice out there. I need to put dating professionally, just personally with friends. If I don't, like, no one's going to buy into who you are and what you're selling if you don't believe it yourself. So I think the Confident Cobra was a big one that I need to do, and I know you asked these questions, so I tried to cheat and do a little bit of story, but every time you
Mhm.
look at a character, you're like, nope, I could be more empathetic. I could use a hype horse. I could be more mature. Like, it just keeps piling up where
Sure.
all of these characters, if you own it just a little bit, like, the world's going to be pretty dang special if everyone like took a lesson from each of them. But
Mm,
confidence for me and this card and this opportunity has allowed me to be confident. Otherwise, I'm just that guy that got lucky and spent a lot of money. It allows me to be me, I guess, with the Cobra.
I love that. That's a great answer. And to your point, like it's always changing. Like it's a moving target, and it's it all. There's so many variables.
Yeah.
Uh, are you going to VCon? Are you planning on going to VCon?
Yeah. So along with that, and again, it adds to this whole storyline of 2023 for me in the last 2 months. I was actually gifted 2 tickets from 2 different community members. So I was worried about how I was going to pay and get there. And I say that, and people are like, well, dude, just sell your cat and it's fully funded, which I don't want to do. But yeah, 2 community members, they reached out and said, hey, are you going? And they're like, well, now you are. So I'll be able to take a friend with me to experience that whole thing with me. So now it's just flights and hotels, and I already mapped out the vacation time. It's LA. I'm coming for you in August, so I'm super
Let's
excited for that.
go. That's amazing. Well, on the logistics front, it's nice to have those few extra months for planning purposes,
Yeah,
rather than mid-May. But yeah, I'm extremely excited that you're going. Not only to meet IRL, but I think you're gonna get a lot out of it. I
but I
know
think
I always do, and most of it is not even what I intended to do. It wasn't
well,
on my game plan, my itinerary. So
yeah, I think that's gonna allow this moment to really come full circle and like be real. Is everything's been virtual. It kind of reminded me of COVID. I have a group of volleyball coaching friends that are all coach college across the country, and we couldn't see each other because we didn't have tournaments to go to anymore. So we did Jackbox games every Sunday, and we just played drinking games and hung out. So all these relationships that are virtual, they're there, but until you're there in person with people and like you experience it and see it, I really look forward to that moment because then it's like, yep, this happened. It's real.
mm,
Let's enjoy this experience. Plus the conversations you guys all have about what it meant to you, your first one and second ones, and just the community members and the offshoots that the random, we're going to fill this room and hall and there's 200 people breaking Series 1 boxes after that. It seems super contagious and just like the place that you really want to be.
I can't wait, and I know I can't wait to jam with you during and post game. See how your experience was, especially it being your first time with your incredible story. Amazing, amazing. Before we get into our last segment, I know, and this is I like asking hard questions. Is there any, and the list is long. We know the kind of people in our community, but is there any one person in particular, maybe someone that doesn't get as much notoriety or headlines, or maybe something happened, someone said something to you, someone DM'd, I don't know, but someone that want to give an extra set of roses to.
Yeah, this again, I knew this was coming, and it's hard because there's a lot of obvious names that people go to. I've
Sure.
had great conversations with Corso already and what he's doing, and obviously Rips and then everyone that streams. Like that's obvious. It's if you're new, you go to them because you want to learn. But narrowing it down to like specific people, it kind of like my loyal Wisconsin ties. Pretty quickly, Polish came in and messaged me, and he's a couple hours north, and we never met. We haven't. I mean, he's only 2 hours away, and we just haven't connected like that yet. But like, you can shoot shit with the guy, and he talks about NFTs and what his goals are, or goals are as still a young man coming up in education. I know he had a moment at VCon that was pretty cool with another Series 1 box break that he got to experience it. So my loyal Wisconsin ties, I'll give a little homage to Polish because there's just so many names that if you asked me 15 minutes ago, I might have said someone different with the same
Right, right.
backline because it's the same thing. Same thing with like Lee. When I dove in, like you can tell that the dude just knows his stuff. And he's a tough negotiator because that's where I got my one of one lemur from. So that was a tall task, but you can ask him with anything, what's this valued or what does this mean? What's the NFT? And he just spits out information and knowledge like he's been doing this his entire life. So those two right off the bat, it's like we've been friends for a long time, but we've never even met yet.
Shout out Lee and Polish. I here's this is just you said Lee. I had zero affinity for the cards up until the last night of this past VCon. I literally stayed in an Airbnb with Lee, and he was working at Jay's thing, and Jay's,
Yeah,
this huge has this huge collection. He's just a juggernaut in that community. Lee's having like he's showing me all of his rare collection. He's having like all of the card guys like Josh and Tom like at his house. He's like, oh, if you want to hang out, I'm like, I don't know. I got like my other like VCon crew, and they have this huge card thing, and I'm looking back, I'm like, man, like if this VCon was 2-3 weeks later, I would have been with all these guys, but and just had such a crash course on the cards before, but it happened the way it was supposed to happen. And I love I said it already, and I'm just beating a dead horse now, but I love the serendipity of all of your decisions to jump in and to just put you on this path of meeting people when you're supposed to, and getting into this when you're supposed to, and I'm just very um, excited to see where your next couple turns take you in your VeeFriends journey.
yeah. Well, 2024 is going to be fun. VCons are for sure. What other crazy things I jump into to be determined. But we'll find out together.
Amazing. Well, before we get to our last segment, I just want to again thank you for being the awesome dude that you are, for gracing us with your time and your story, and for like for being so gracious to let us keep your your prized pull,
Yeah,
your historic pull in our house
yeah.
for so long. Like it was just funny the conversations we'd have. Like we'd just be nervous about it sometimes. Like I couldn't go anywhere on this side. Like we have our little collector's corner over there, and it was hidden in the back, like out of sight. It wasn't even like put up. Just like get it out of there. Don't touch it. But it was cool to have that as a flex as we go through the years of these collectibles.
No, and that's what I love the angle that you shot of that day too, because it really got Chelsea's like her full on emotion of what was taking place during the rip. Um, it again, it was surreal with that whole part, but again, thank you for having me because my first we we connected pretty quickly after, and you're like, hey, what you want to jam on the podcast? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Okay, never done it. Like, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And like things went through, and I was like, see, I'm not that big of it. Like, he doesn't really want to talk to me. And when you reconnected, like, it hit me later that I'm like, with what you're doing in the history of VeeFriends and talking to everyone that you are, you said it earlier, it's not, you don't have to be the Corso or the Andy or Mikey or D-Rock who are like going toe to toe with Gary every single day. Like you're a part of this, and I'm always going to be that guy that got the first spec that was there in public. So as much as I thought, what is Rob talking about? Like, why do you want to talk to me? Like, what you're doing with VeeFam sessions, it makes a heck of a lot of sense. So like, I'm here. It's weird to talk about myself, but for the history, like this is a pivotal moment, and it's just a start for what's happening for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And Kama, you're a great dude. You're
Oh,
you're
thank you.
you're a kind warrior.
I got one of those, so I guess
You sure do.
I
You sure
guess it's
do.
fitting.
Among other things.
Yeah,
And you have I see those fuck glasses up behind you too. I
yeah.
mean, those are looking at me in the eyes.
I got
Um,
two pairs if you haven't got yours yet, so we can
oh,
work out a
okay. Well,
deal.
maybe we'll strike a
you
deal.
you
I
don't
want
need
that
to buy
badass
from
bulldog too. So
yeah
maybe
you don't need
we'll
it
strike
from
a
To
deal.
the Moon. You can just Soggy Waffle deal it up instead.
All right. Side
Instead,
deals.
yeah.
All right, so you've been paying attention, so you know what this last segment is. Micro,
Yeah.
macro, Spitfire, really quick answers that you could be short and sweet or elaborate. Here we go. If someone is just getting followed in VeeFriends, if someone is just jumping into VeeFriends for the first time, who do they need to follow immediately?
Any of the streamers, Teacher, IJ Rob, Jay Courage, Chels, all of them, because that's how I learned, and they're super open to explaining everything like you have no clue what you're talking about. It's super informative, and it's a hell of a time every stream. I'm going to be watching it once I get off with you, because that's you come home to it, and it makes the night a little bit better.
Your favorite IP as a kid?
I was just a sports nut, so anything sports related, I that literally was my whole entire life was sports. So that was kind of it.
Who would you rather see win a Super Bowl? The Vikings, Lions, or the Bears?
Should have known you would have made a question like this. Uh,
It's tough.
because no, there's no right answer because my friends all at home are going to see this and they're going to be like, "What the hell are you talking about, man?" I've hated the Lions the least out of all of them, so I think I would have to go that way. When Favre went to the Vikings, they went super far down, and the Bears just still suck. So I can't see them ever
All
winning.
right,
So I'll go with
Lions.
the Lions.
Favorite teacher you had growing up and one reason why?
I thought a lot about this one. There was one I had Miss Christensen, a split class, so fifth and sixth grade, and the reason was she gave me a lot of confidence in who I was, but she also taught my father, so that connection was pretty cool. But I loved her, but my real answer that I put some thought behind to go a little bit deeper would be my parents. They're both in education. My dad was my coach for literally every sport, and he was always Coach Dad. And I talked to him about at Christmas about it. I didn't realize how much I appreciated that growing up until he was no longer coach because he always wanted to make sure that the coach's son wasn't getting preferential treatment. He pushed me to be the best I could to earn my playing time. And then my mom was on the sideline being that cheerleader and pushing me to, she's like, you can do better. And I knew I could. I was just being a little shit growing up and doing the bare minimum to get straight A's and just be that kid. But those two together, I wouldn't be the man I am today or the person or being in this community without them. So as much as I loved Miss Christensen, I think my parents kind of take the cake there.
Favorite movie?
Again, Tom makes us think about it every time he goes on Whatnot. The Lion King and Shawshank. I'll watch both of those a million times over, and it never gets old.
I'm a Shawshank guy. I love that. Favorite piece of VeeFriends physical memorabilia that isn't a card? I have to amend this for you.
No, and it's you can't see it on my shelf. It's on the top shelf, but I think it's a signed box that still has all the packs in it that was first signed. Again, I love collectibles and I believe in Gary and what he stands for and what he's going to be. And same thing with when Rip's hoodie actually comes in, I might change my mind to the hoodie that I snagged on the last stream. But it's just that's a piece of history that no one else is going to have. And it's sitting on my shelf for the long term. So right now, that box signed by everyone. But once that hoodie comes in from Rips, I think he deserves more love than he gives himself. And he's a big piece of what VeeFriends is going to be 10 years from now.
100%. We'd love to have you on, Rips. Uh, what v- what free friend needs to be voted into the White House right now?
And I mean, our country needs a lot of help with a whole bunch of nuts that's going on. Um, Honestly, going in it, I think the bold as fuck bat just off the cuff, because we need someone that's just going to be true to who they are and not give a fuck about what everyone else is going to say or do or push. Like with politics, you get a lot of money is in there, and being bold as fuck, you're staying true to yourself, and that's what a lot of people need to be. Myself personally, but in the White House as well, just off the top of the head.
All right, so we've had Minnesota, Indianapolis, and LA coming up in 2024. It's not official, but we can only assume that there's a VCon 2025. If there is, where is it?
Bummed I missed the Midwest because I live in Wisconsin, so I don't think it's coming back here. I think they'll venture in the United States one more year, like a Miami or something, and then after that, hit up like Toronto or something, still North America, but out of the United States. So like Miami or Texas first. Uh, I'll go Miami, but otherwise like Dallas.
All right, Miami, you're on record for Miami. Favorite concert you've ever been to?
I've only been to one. That was Summerfest, and it was Train, and that's when I started listening to their music. It was between Train and Shinedown, and we ended up going there, and I've listened to them ever since. Otherwise, that's my only one, so that's the only answer I can give.
Gratitude Gorilla or Patient Panda?
Gratitude Gorilla.
Would you rather have a 2-hour group dinner with Gary, you and 9 other people, for 2 hours, or a 20-minute one-on-one?
Group dinner. I actually wrote a list of people that I want to take with me so they can experience like that moment with Gary. Uh, I don't know exactly what I'm doing professionally and personally, so I think I'd get more out of having people with me sharing their experience, so I can take from that and like share in that wealth.
And if you could ask Gary one question, what would it be?
Can I have that goo lemur that you have chilling in your vault? I've asked him and already he hasn't responded. But it's going to be not super deep yet because I spoke with him obviously in the FaceTime. But when I have that true one-on-one moment, I want there to be something meaningful behind it, and I don't know what it is yet. So right now it's, can I get that goo that you're holding out on me so I can be like Corso and have a lemur NFT?
I love that. I don't know if he'll give it to you straight up, but I think you have something that he would trade for.
Yeah, I mentioned that to Rips, and we'll see if a deal comes to fruition, but we'll see.
Saugy, you are an amazing dude. The legend of Saugy continues. It's moving into 2024 and beyond. And yeah, we appreciate you. Thanks so much for coming on.
No, thanks for having me. It means the world that you asked, and it was a good time. I appreciate it.
Till next time.